So here it is, mid-January already. I keep swearing to myself I'll get this out in the first week of the month, and stuff always happens. But maybe now that the kids are fully back in school, unless we have even more bad weather, things will get better. Anyway, here are the answers for the questions asked by my $5 and above patrons in the month of December. Josh Havens asked one I had answered, could you provide a few examples as to how our current healthcare system in the U.S. is not a free market? So I'll point you to two videos. The first is How to Argue for Universal Healthcare, and although it covers UHC, it also talks about a lot of things that are wrong with the U.S. system and how it's not a free market. I also have more that I mention in How to Fix Healthcare Without Spending a Dime, so check those out. And keep in mind, both of those are pre-Obamacare, so you can really just add Obamacare to the list on those. And I want to point this out because healthcare in America is not anywhere close to a free market and hasn't been for at least half a century. And it's always amazing to me how statists always point to healthcare and the financial sector as the big market failures the government has had to step in and fix, when the fact is, those are the two most regulated markets in America. So anyway, that let him ask a second question, because you normally only get one. What's your favorite libertarian works of fiction? And for this, I'm going to point to a thread on the Bogosity forum called Great Libertarian Novels That Aren't Atlas Shrugged, because in my estimation, not being Atlas Shrugged is a great thing in a novel. So you can check out that list, and there's also an episode of Bogosity where we covered items on that list, and other people have added more. So those are linked in the video description. I really just want to single out two of them. Well, I guess I want to double out two of them then, I guess. But anyway, The Moon is a Harsh Mistress by Robert Heinlein and Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. Both of those I read as a teenager and really helped me on my path to libertarianism. And links to all of these books are in the thread. Jason Maltz had asked one about what exactly is wrong with libertarian socialism, and I had answered that in a quickie, so he answered another one. What's your opinion of Reaganomics or trickle-down economics? Or more generally, how should taxes be? Well, first of all, make up your mind. Those are two different things. There's actually no such thing as trickle-down economics in any textbook you'll ever find. It was a term coined by Will Rogers to describe and criticize the economic policies of FDR, which were about as far from Reaganomics as you can get. Reaganomics is more generally known as supply-side economics. Keynesian economics is demand-side. You fix the economy by boosting aggregate demand, generally through government spending, taxation, money printing, debt, that sort of thing. The idea is the government takes up the slack for spending that the people won't. Supply-side is doing the same thing on the supply side, generally as subsidies to big corporations, and of course we libertarians are just as against that, regardless of whether it's done by Reagan or Obama. And of course Reagan increased taxes, spending, and the national debt by leaps and bounds, and wasn't anything like what libertarians would want. Except maybe just in comparison to the Carter, Ford, and Nixon administrations where you had things like price controls. And how should taxes be? They shouldn't. That's pretty much all there is to it. And finally, Drew Cavallo asks, what political beliefs did you have at various times in the past? Why, and why did they change over time? I've pretty much been a libertarian my entire adult life. As a teenager, I was kind of coming from the left, although never fully. Things like minimum wage and gun control never made any sense to me. But there was a time when I probably could have advocated for a guaranteed minimum income, at least until I started studying some actual economics. And that's the thing, pre-internet, there wasn't much of a way for a kid like me to find about Rothbard and people like that. But like I said earlier, I did read books like The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, and that really got me thinking the libertarian way, so any leftist tendencies I might have had weren't going to last long. Okay, so that's it for another month. Please come to the Patreon page and ask your questions for January, but remember, you have to be a patron at the $5 level to ask your questions. We'll do this again next month, and until then, stay strong and be free.